1 Kings 9. So it came to pass, when Solomon had finished building the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all Solomon's desire, which it pleased him to do, the Lord appeared again to Solomon, as he had appeared to him in Gibeon. And the Lord said unto him, I have heard thy prayer, and the supplication which thou hast made before me. I hallowed the house you built, to put my name there forever, and my eyes and my heart will be there always. And if you will walk before me, as David your father walked, with completeness of heart and sincerity, to do according to all that I have commanded you, and to keep my statutes and my judgments, then I will establish the throne of your kingdom over Israel forever, as I spoke concerning your father David, saying, There shall not fail you a successor on the throne of Israel. But if you and your children turn away from me in any way, and do not keep my commandments and my statutes, which I have set before you, but go and serve other gods and worship them, then I will destroy Israel out of the land that I have given them, and this house, which I sanctified to my name, I will cast out from my presence, and Israel shall be a byword and a byword among all peoples. And of this house, which is so exalted, everyone who passes by it will be astonished, and will hiss, and say, Why has the Lord done this to this land and to this house? And they will say, Because they forsook the Lord their God, who brought their fathers out of the land of Egypt, and held fast to other gods, and bowed down to them, and served them. Therefore the Lord brought all this evil upon them. And it came to pass at the end of 20 years, that Solomon had built the two houses, the house of the Lord and the king's house, for which Hiram king of Tyre had brought Solomon cedar trees and cypress trees, and gold, according to all his desire. Then King Solomon gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee. And Hiram went out of Tyre to see the cities that Solomon had given him, but they were not good in his eyes. Therefore he said, What are these cities which thou hast given me, my brother? And they called them, Land of Cabul, to this day. And Hiram had sent to the king 120 talents of gold. And this is the cause of the tribute that King Solomon imposed, to build the house of the Lord, and his house, and Millo, and the wall of Jerusalem, and Hazor, and Megiddo, and Gezer. For Pharaoh king of Egypt went up and took Gezer, and burned it with fire, and slew the Canaanites that dwelt in the city, and gave it as a dowry to his daughter, Solomon's wife. So Solomon built Gezer, and Beth-hor on the Low, and to Baalath, and to Tadmor, in the wilderness of that land, and to all the cities of stores that Solomon had, and the cities of chariots, and the cities of horsemen, and all that Solomon wanted to build in Jerusalem, and in Lebanon, and in all the land of his dominion. As for all the people that were left of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, who were not of the children of Israel, his sons who remained after them in the land, whom the children of Israel could not utterly destroy, Solomon reduced to a servile tribute, even to this day. But of the children of Israel Solomon made no servant, but they were men of war, and their servants, and their princes, and their captains, and captains of their chariots, and of their horsemen. These were the chief officers who were over Solomon's work, 550, who gave orders to the people who worked in the work. But Pharaoh's daughter went up from the city of David to her house, which Solomon had built for her, so she built Millo. And she offered Solomon 3 times in the year burnt offerings and peace offerings on the altar which they built to the Lord, and burned incense on that which was before the Lord, and that's how the house ended. King Solomon also made ships in Ezion-Geber, which is beside Elath, on the shore of the Sea of Suph, in the land of Edom. And he sent Hiram with those ships to his servants, mariners, who knew about the sea, with the servants of Solomon. And they came to Ophir, and took from there 420 talents of gold, and brought them to King Solomon. 1 Kings 10. And when the queen of Sheba heard the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to test him with difficult questions. And he arrived at Jerusalem with a large retinue, with camels laden with spices, and very much gold, and precious stones. And he went to Solomon, and told him all that was in his heart. And Solomon gave her the answer to all her questions. There was nothing that he could not clarify. When the queen of Sheba saw all Solomon's wisdom and the house that he had built, and the food of his table, and the sitting of his servants, and the living of his servants, and their garments, and his cupbearers, and the burnt offerings which he offered in the house of the Lord, he was beside himself. And she said to the king, "The word that I heard in my land, of your doings and your wisdom, was true. And I did not believe those words until I came and my eyes saw him. Behold, they have not told me the half. You surpassed in wisdom and goods the fame that I heard. Blessed are your men, blessed are these your servants, who are always before you, who hear your wisdom. Blessed be the Lord your God, who delighted in you to set you on the throne of Israel, for the Lord loveth Israel forever. Therefore hath he made thee king, to do judgment and righteousness." And he gave the king 120 talents of gold, and very many spices, and precious stones. Never did spice come in such abundance as the queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. Also the ships of Hiram, which carried gold from Ophir, brought from Ophir much almug wood, and precious stones. And the king made of almug wood banisters for the house of the Lord, and for the king's house, and also harps and psalteries for the singers. Such almug wood never came, nor has it been seen to this day. And King Solomon gave the queen of Sheba whatever she desired, whatever she asked, in addition to what she had given out of her bounty. So he returned and departed for her land, she and her servants. And the weight of the gold that was brought to Solomon each year was 666 talents of gold, in addition to what came in from merchants, and from the contract of spices, and from all the kings of Arabia, and from the governors of the same land. King Solomon also made 200 pavises of hammered gold, 600 shekels of gold he assigned to each pave. He also made 300 shields of hammered gold, 3 gold hooks he assigned to each shield, and the king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. The king made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with purest gold. This throne had 6 steps, and the top of the throne was round behind, and had backrests on both sides to the seat, and 2 lions, standing close to the backrests. Also 12 lions were there on the 6 steps on each side. Such work had never been done in any of the kingdoms. Also all King Solomon's drinking cups were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. There was no silver in them, because in the days of Solomon it was worthless. For the king had the ships of Tarshish in the sea, with the ships of Hiram. Once in 3 years they returned to the ships of Tarshish, and brought back gold and silver, ivory, and howler monkeys, and peacocks. So King Solomon surpassed all the kings of the earth both in riches and in wisdom. And all the earth sought Solomon's face, to hear the wisdom that God had put in his heart. And each one brought his gift, vessels of silver and vessels of gold, and clothes, and armor, and spices, horses and mules. This they did from year to year. Solomon also gathered chariots and horsemen, so that he had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen, and he brought them to the cities of the chariots, and to the king in Jerusalem. And the king caused that in Jerusalem there was silver like stones, and cedars in abundance like the sycamore trees that are in the plains. And they brought horses and flax thread from Egypt to Solomon, and the king's merchants received the flax thread for a certain price. And a chariot went up and out of Egypt for 600 shekels of silver, and a horse for 150, and so through them they were exported to all the kings of the Hittites and to the kings of Syria. 1 Kings 11. And King Solomon loved many foreign women besides Pharaoh's daughter, Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, and Hittites. Of the nations of which the Lord had spoken to the children of Israel, you shall not come near them, and they shall not come near you, otherwise they will pervert your heart to follow their gods. These were joined by Solomon in love. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives perverted his heart. For when Solomon was old, his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, like the heart of David his father. Because Solomon followed Astarte, goddess of the Sidonians, and Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. So Solomon did what was evil in the eyes of the Lord, and he did not persevere in following the Lord, like David his father. So Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of the Moabites, on the mountain that is before Jerusalem, and for Moloch, the abomination of the Ammonites. And so he did to all his foreign women, who burned incense and sacrificed to their gods. Therefore the Lord was angry with Solomon, because he had turned his heart away from the Lord God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice. And concerning this matter he had commanded him not to follow other gods, but he did not keep what the Lord commanded him. Thus said the Lord to Solomon, because this has happened to you, that you have not kept my covenant and my statutes which I commanded you, I will surely tear the kingdom from you and give it to your servant. Yet I will not do it in your days, for the sake of David your father, I will tear it from the hand of your son. But the whole kingdom I will not tear, one tribe will I give to your son, for the sake of my servant David, and for the sake of Jerusalem, which I have chosen. So the Lord raised up an adversary against Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. He was of the king's seed in Edom. For it came to pass, when David was in Edom, and Joab, the captain of the host, went up to bury the slain, that he slew every male in Edom. For Joab stayed there 6 months with all Israel, until he had destroyed every male in Edom. But Hadad fled, he and some Edomite men of his father's servants with him, to go to Egypt, but Hadad was very young. And they rose up from Midian, and went to Paran, and took men of Paran with them, and went to Egypt to Pharaoh king of Egypt, who gave him a house, and promised him sustenance, and gave him a land. And Hadad found great favor with Pharaoh, so that he gave him his wife's sister, the sister of Tahpenes, the queen, to wife. And the sister of Tahpenes bore him a son, Genubaid, whom Tahpenes brought up in Pharaoh's house, and Genubaid was in Pharaoh's house, among Pharaoh's sons. When Hadad in Egypt heard that David had fallen asleep with his fathers, and that Joab, the captain of the host, was dead, Hadad said to Pharaoh, Send me away, that I may go to my country. But Pharaoh said to him, Why is it wrong with me that you seek to go to your country? And he said, Nothing, but still send me away. God also raised up another adversary for him, Rezon the son of Eliada, who had fled from his lord Hadadezer king of Zobah, against whom he also gathered men, and was captain of a squadron, when David slew them, and going to Damascus, they dwelt there, and reigned in Damascus. And he was an adversary to Israel all the days of Solomon, and that besides the evil that Hadad did, because he hated Israel, and reigned over Syria. Even Jeroboam, son of Nebat, an Ephrathite, from Zereda, Solomon's servant, whose mother was a widow woman, named Zeruiah, also raised his hand against the king. And this was the cause why he lifted up his hand against the king. Solomon had built Millo, and closed up the breaches of the city of David his father. And the man Jeroboam was strong and mighty, and when Solomon saw this young man, that he was industrious, he made him over all the charge of the house of Joseph. It came to pass at that time, that, when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, Ahijah the Shilonite the prophet met him on the way, and he was clothed in a new garment, and the two of them were alone in the field. And Ahijah took the new garment that was on him, and tore it into 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, Take the 10 pieces for yourself, for thus says the Lord God of Israel, Behold, I will tear the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and I will give you the 10 tribes. But he shall have 1 tribe, for the sake of David my servant, and for the sake of Jerusalem, the city I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel. Because they have forsaken me, and bowed down to Astarte, goddess of the Sidonians, to Chemosh, god of the Moabites, and to Milcom, god of the Ammonites, and they walked not in my ways, to do that which was right in my eyes, even my statutes and my judgments, like David their father. But I will not take any of this kingdom out of his hand, but I have made him prince all the days of his life, for the sake of David my servant, whom I chose, who kept my commandments and my statutes. But I will take the kingdom from the hand of his son, and give it to you, the 10 tribes of it. And to his son I will give 1 tribe, so that David my servant may always have a lamp before me in Jerusalem, the city I chose to put my name there. And I will take you, and you will reign over all that your soul desires, and thou shalt be king over Israel. And it shall come to pass, if thou wilt hearken to all that I command thee, and walk in my ways, and do that which is right in my eyes, keeping my statutes and my commandments, as David my servant did, then I will be with thee. And I will build you a strong house, as I built David, and I will give you Israel. And therefore I will afflict the seed of David, yet not forever. So Solomon sought to kill Jeroboam, but Jeroboam arose, and fled into Egypt, to Shishak king of Egypt, and he was in Egypt until Solomon died. As for the rest of Solomon's acts, and all that he did, and his wisdom, are they not written in the book of Solomon's doings? And the time that Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel was 40 years. And Solomon slept with his fathers, and was buried in the city of David his father, and Rehoboam his son reigned in his stead. 1 Kings 12. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel were gathered together to Shechem, to make him king. And it came to pass, that Jeroboam the son of Nebat, being yet in Egypt, whither he had fled from before King Solomon, returned from Egypt. Because they sent for him, so Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came and spoke to Rehoboam, saying, Your father made our yoke worse, now therefore, lighten the hard service of your father, and the heavy yoke that he laid on us, and we will serve you. And he said to them, Go away until the third day, and then come back to me. And the people left. And King Rehoboam took counsel with the elders who stood before Solomon his father while he was yet alive, saying, How do you advise that people should be answered? And they spake unto him, saying, If thou wilt be a servant to this people today, and serve them, and answer them, and speak good words to them, they shall be thy servants all the days. But he left the counsel that the elders had given him, and took counsel with the young men who had grown up with him, who stood before him. And he said to them, What advise you that we should answer this people, who spoke to me, saying, Lighten the yoke that your father laid on us? And the young men who had grown up with him said to him, Thus shall you say to this people who said to you, Your father made our yoke very heavy, but you lighten it from us. Thus shalt thou say unto him, My little finger is thicker than my father's loins. So if my father loaded you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father punished you with whips, but I will punish you with scorpions. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day, as the king had commanded, saying, Return to me on the third day. And the king answered the people harshly, because he had left the advice which the elders had given him. And he spoke to him according to the counsel of the young men, saying, My father made your yoke heavy, but I will add to your yoke. My father punished you with whips, but I will punish you with scorpions. So the king did not listen to the people, for this revolt was from the Lord, to confirm the word which the Lord had spoken by Ahijah the Shilonite to Jeroboam the son of Nebat. When all Israel saw that the king would not listen to them, the people answered him again, saying, What part do we have with David? There is no inheritance for us in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel! Provide now for your house, O David. So Israel went to his tents. But as for the children of Israel who dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam also reigned over them. Then King Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was over the tribute, and all Israel stoned him, and he died. But King Rehoboam was encouraged to get into his chariot and flee to Jerusalem. So the Israelites rebelled against the house of David to this day. And it came to pass, when all Israel heard that Jeroboam had returned, that they sent and called him to the congregation, and made him king over all Israel, and none followed the house of David but the tribe of Judah only. So when Rehoboam came to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin, 180,000 chosen, skilled for war, to fight against the house of Israel, to restore the kingdom to Rehoboam son of Solomon. But the word of God came to Shemaiah, the man of God, saying, Speak to Rehoboam, son of Solomon, king of Judah, and to all the house of Judah, and to Benjamin, and to the rest of the people, saying, Thus saith the Lord, Ye shall not go up, nor fight against your brethren the children of Israel, return each one to his house, because I did this work. And they heard the word of the Lord, and they returned according to the word of the Lord. And Jeroboam built Shechem in the mount of Ephraim, and dwelt there, and he went out from there, and built Peniel. And Jeroboam said in his heart, Now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If this people go up to offer sacrifices in the house of the Lord in Jerusalem, the heart of this people will turn to their Lord, to Rehoboam king of Judah, and they will kill me, and return to Rehoboam king of Judah. So the king took counsel, and made 2 golden calves, and he said to them, It will be a lot of work for you to go up to Jerusalem. You see your gods here, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. And he put one in Bethel, and he put the other in Dan. And this deed became a sin, for the people went to Dan to worship the calf. He also made his home on the heights, and he appointed priests from the lowest of the people, who were not of the sons of Levi. And Jeroboam made a feast in the 8th month, on the 15th day of the month, like the feast in Judah, and he sacrificed on the altar. Likewise he did at Bethel, sacrificing to the calves which he had made. Also at Bethel he set up priests of the high places which he had made. And he sacrificed on the altar which he had made at Bethel, on the 15th day of the 8th month, which he had devised in his heart. So he made the feast to the children of Israel, and sacrificed on the altar, burning incense. 1 Kings 13. And, behold, by the command of the Lord, there came a man of God from Judah to Bethel, and Jeroboam was at the altar to burn incense. And he cried against the altar by the command of the Lord, and said, Altar, altar. Thus saith the Lord, Behold, a son shall be born to the house of David, whose name shall be Josiah, who shall sacrifice upon thee the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and the bones of men shall be burned upon thee. And he gave a sign the same day, saying, This is the sign which the Lord hath spoken, Behold, the altar shall be rent apart, and the ashes that are upon it shall be poured out. And it came to pass, when the king heard the word of the man of God, who had cried against the altar at Bethel, that Jeroboam stretched out his hand from the altar, saying, Take him. But his hand, which had been stretched out against him, withered, and he could not bring it back to him. And the altar was split open, and the ashes were poured out from the altar, according to the sign which the man of God had given by the command of the Lord. Then the king answered and said to the man of God, Plead with the Lord thy God, and pray for me, that my hand may be restored to me. Then the man of God pleaded with the Lord, and the king's hand was restored to him, and it was as before. And the king said to the man of God, Come home with me, and be comforted, and I will give you a present. But the man of God said to the king, Even if you gave me half of your house, I would not go with you, nor would I eat bread or drink water in this place. For thus hath the Lord commanded me by his word, saying, Thou shalt not eat bread, nor drink water, and you shall not return by the way you came. So it went the other way, and he did not return by the way he had come to Bethel. And an old prophet dwelt in Bethel, and his sons came, and told him all that the man of God had done that day at Bethel, and the words that he had spoken to the king, and told them to their father. And his father said to them, Which way did he go? And his sons showed him the way by which the man of God who came from Judah had gone. Then he said to his sons, Saddle me an ass. And they saddled the donkey on which he sat. And he went after the man of God, and found him sitting under an oak, and said to him, Art thou the man of God that came out of Judah? And he said, I am. Then he said to him, Come home with me and eat bread. But he said, I cannot go back with you, nor will I go in with you. I will neither eat bread nor drink water with you in this place. For it was commanded me by the word of the Lord, There you shall not eat bread, nor drink water, nor shall you return by the way by which you came. And he said to him, I too am a prophet like you. So he went back with him, and he ate bread in his house and drank water. And it came to pass, as they were at table, the word of the Lord came to the prophet who had brought him back. And he cried to the man of God who came from Judah, saying, Thus says the Lord, because you rebelled against the command of the Lord, and did not keep the commandment which the Lord your God commanded you. You returned before, and ate bread and drank water in the place where the Lord said to you, You shall not eat bread nor drink water, your dead body shall not enter the tomb of your fathers. And it came to pass, after he had eaten bread, and after he had drunk, that he saddled the ass for the prophet whom he had brought back. So he went away, and a lion met him in the way and killed him, and his dead body was laid out on the road, and the donkey was standing beside him, and the lion also was beside the dead body. And, behold, some men passed by, and saw the body cast in the way, and the lion, which was by the body, and they went and told it in the city where the old prophet dwelt. And when the prophet who had turned him back from the way heard him, he said, This is the man of God, who rebelled against the command of the Lord. Therefore the Lord gave him to the lion, which tore and killed him, according to the word which the Lord had spoken to him. Then he said to his sons, Saddle the donkey for me. They saddled him. So he went, and found the dead body lying on the road, and the donkey and the lion, standing by the dead body, and the lion had not devoured the body, nor had it torn the donkey in pieces. Then the prophet lifted the corpse of the man of God, and put it on top of the donkey, taking it with him. So the old prophet came to the city to mourn and bury him. And he laid the corpse in his own tomb, and they mourned for him, saying, "Ah, my brother." And it came to pass, after he had buried him, that he said to his sons, "When I die, bury me in the tomb where the man of God is buried, lay my bones beside his bones." For what he spoke by the word of the Lord against the altar that is in Bethel, and against all the houses of the high places that are in the cities of Samaria, will surely be fulfilled. Nor after these things did Jeroboam turn from his evil way, rather, out of all the people, he again appointed priests of the high places, and whomever he wanted he consecrated as priest of the high places. And it caused the house of Jeroboam to sin, to destroy it and to extinguish it from the land. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel, leave your like, and make a comment.